What's up? We got Supergirl Season 2, Episode 18, Ace Reporter. So this episode starts off with Supergirl, with Kara busting into going into DO, saying about how she's ready to defeat a bad guy. But they're like, yeah, there's no bad guy. So she's like, oh, there's no bad guy. Then he's like, hey, he's got do something. Alex and Sean don't appear for the rest of the episode, so they just leave. Then Kara's baking, but that's when Lena shows up, and she's like, "Are you grief baking?" And she's like, no." And she's like, she just wants a job back. She just wants her job at Kako back. And she's like, hey, there's someone in Jack's fear, her old partner, her old boyfriend, her old partner, who basically figured out the technology that they were trying to build, and it's basically, so she wants, do you want to go to a convention with her? And she's like, sure. And they end up running into, of course, Snapper, Car. And Car and Snapper basically, he's basically like, at least you're not doing gamers.com. And she's like, then Jack's fear. And Lee is on about how he looks, and his beard is great. And he's talking about, and she's like, he finally fixed the nanobot technology. So, yeah. So as he and Kara talking, some random guy is like, hey Kara, I need to talk to you. So I think that, and she's like, okay. And she's like, hey, I think there's something up with the spherical technology. But then nanobots go all Big Hero 6 on them and blow up the whistleblower. And guys, this episode is homage to Big Hero 6. Not homage, but I love it. So yeah. Yeah, so Kara's like, hey, her whistleblower just died. So yeah, so then Snapper's like, what are you doing here, Kara? You don't work for Kako anymore. And she's like, yeah, but James, my friend, he's like, you don't work for Kako, you are not allowed in the Kako building. And he's like, hey, Kara's my friend, and I say she's allowed here. And she's like, no, get out. So Kara's like, okay. So Snapper says about how he's meeting with a source on the spherical case. So Kara goes in and Supergirl, when the nanobots again go all Big Hero 6, is about to blow him up. Kara saves Snapper. So yeah, so when I was like, Kara's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, yeah, Mom, Jack invited Lena to go out with her, go on a date with her, and she's like, and she called you saying how she wanted you to talk her out of it. So she's like, yeah, so they basically get into the meanwhile Lila and Wynn are still dating, and Wynn's like when she's you went from you're dating a bad guy. Remember when James is like, hey, she's dating a bad guy. She tried to sell you up to a criminal, and she's like, hey, she's just gonna save her brother. Yeah, it's randomly that they got back together after that. So during a fight, while James is taking down a kid, but then Lyra kicks him and starts beating him up, and James is like, oh, what are you doing? And she's like, he's a criminal. And so this causes James and him to say, hey, you're off the team. And she's like, for how long? He's like, forever. And she's like, I knew it. James didn't like her. And he's like, James didn't like her. And she basically gets mad, saying, I'm going to the bathroom, and you better not be here. And he's like, how'd that go? And yeah, so he basically talks to her, and they basically talk off screen, and basically So she's basically saying, hey, Lyra, this is Lyra's last episode. So, yeah, she was meant to be in season 3, but it got cut. So, yeah, this is her last episode. Yeah. Yeah, so she basically mentions how she wants to go up the tree and eat that cat. Because she likes eating cats. Okay. And that's where that scene ends. That's where Lila's character ends. With her mentioning how she eats cats. Why is characters ending always mentioned on not that good ends for the characters? They just end with not very deserving endings. Like Lyra just says, oh, she likes to eat cats, and that's the way they end her character. I'm guessing, why'd they cut her from season 3 anyway? I know that, season 3 is like 23 episodes, 23 episodes, but I'm just saying, why cut her? 22 episodes, but I'm just saying, why cut her? She would have been this whole her like eat cats thing wouldn't have been her final appearance. But anyway, yeah. So back at the dinner scene between Kara and Monel/Mike, and so basically Monel steals his and discovers that Jack has been doing the nanobot experiments on himself. So yeah, so she basically tells Lena, and she's like, no, that's not him. And she's like, she's like, I don't. And he's like, promise me I won't. And she's like, I promise. But then that later scene, she basically goes to meet him, basically saying that, oh, I promise, but I don't really. So yeah, but yeah, so Kara decides to publish this, gives Snapper the story, and he gives her job back. So yeah, so Lena goes to meet him, but he's like, she's like, you killed those people, but he's like, I don't remember what you're talking about, until it's revealed that his secretary is the real villain, and that she's been mind controlling, and then when she appears, she mind controls him so he cannot talk. She's like you're the real villain. She's like, yeah, because yeah, it's random weird how we thought that he was the bad guy, but he's basically the villain, basically, i.e. Big Hero 6, and she saw his inventions and I was using it against him, because she says about how every behind a man is a great woman, and everyone says that, and yeah, she basically says what everyone says, and she's like, yeah. So she's like, look where Lex could have been. And she's like, yeah. So then Kara shows up, and Kara gets almost infected by the, what's it called? By the nano drones, but she's like, Alex, blow it up. But then she's like, if you blow it up, you kill him. So Alex knocks Beth out of there, the secretary, and blows it up, blowing up all nanobots, probably killing Jack. We don't never know what happened to him. He's probably dead. Who knows? But yeah, Beth is now in jail, and she basically confronts her about how she's basically aloof to her about when she felt cold and calm, and then when Beth went in jail, she felt warm, feeling that Beth is dying in prison, cause she's crazy. So yeah, so at the end of the episode, Rhea shows up saying, "Hey Lena, I want to offer you a business. I want to offer you an offer." What is Rhea doing on Earth? Actually, we know what Rhea is doing on Earth. She killed her husband last episode, and now is on Earth to recruit Lena for some plan. But either way, that was Ace Reporter. It was basically Big Hero 6, and it was basically a supergirl episode plus Big Hero 6. Because basically, the nanobots are like the nanobots on Big Hero 6. This was basically an homage to Big Hero 6. Can you guys agree with me that this episode is basically an homage to Big Hero 6? This basically is Big Hero 6 meets Supergirl. Big Hero 6 meets Supergirl. But anyway, that's it for this video. And I'll see you next time for more Supergirl. And yeah, I'll see you next time.